Hello, my unconventional conventionalists, and welcome to my long-awaited review of Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. Now, the games have been out for roughly 2 months now, and despite being overshadowed by the Pokemon Go app, they've been pretty popular amongst Pokemon fans like me. Now, as I've stated in all of my Pokemon-based video game reviews before, I only own one version of the game. In this case, it is Pokemon Moon, but because there's so many similarities between the two versions, you can only own one and still be able to speak on account of both. Now let us begin with the positive aspects of the game, or at least what I consider to be. First off, the graphics. Being the latest in the Pokemon games, naturally they have the best graphics of all the games so far. And although it may not be that much of an upgrade over X and Y, it's enough. It's also really great to see the day and night aspect make a return. Haven't seen that in quite some time. Next, let us talk about the Pokemon. Now, just like Generation 6, there really aren't that many entirely new Pokemon in Generation 7. However, this time around, it kind of just feels like there's enough. These are definitely the most interesting starters we've had in a very long time. Through my personal observation, it appears that Litten, the Fire Cat, is the most popular, followed by Rowlet, and lastly, poor Popplio hardly gets any love at all. Their final evolutions are also quite interesting, maintaining the type triangle of grass, fire, and water, but this time throwing in a secondary type triangle of ghost, dark, and fairy, giving each one an advantage over the final evolution starter that they'd normally be weak to, which brings a really nice balance to the three. Another interesting introduction in the Pokemon Sun and Moon games is the Alola forms. This is a very, very interesting twist on some of the old Pokemon that we knew and loved in the first generation. Very much like the Mega Evolutions did in the Pokemon X and Y games, it makes these old Pokemon seem new again, and in many cases, their new typing kind of contradicts what their original types were and makes them a lot more useful in battle. For example, the Alolan Grimer and Muck are now Poison and Dark, thus narking out their old weakness to Psychic types. Although I have to say they could have done a little bit more with the Alolan Pokemon, like, where the hell is Alolan Jinx? And even more peculiar is, why is there some Pokemon that has an Alolan final evolution, however its pre-evolved forms are as we've always seen them? Good example, Cubone and Marowak. The Alolan Marowak is a ghost and fire type, which is fucking cool. But why isn't the Cubone at least a ghost type? Why is Cubone still the same Cubone we've always seen, and a ground type? So this ground type Pokemon just magically evolves into this ghost and fire type? That doesn't really fly well with me. Even more so, why the fuck did they not utilize the opportunity of bringing in an Alolan Pikachu to go with the Alolan Raichu? Come on, the Alolan Raichu has blue eyes and is characterized as being a surfer. Sound familiar? If you watch the first season of the Pokemon anime, it does, because there was a Pikachu that does exactly that. Remember Puka, the Humunga Dunga Tidal Wave episode? Yeah, it was a Pikachu with blue eyes and knew how to surf. When the Alolan Raichu was first announced before the games actually were released, we all assumed that this was a play on Puka, that we were going to see Puka as the Alolan Pikachu, which evolves into the Alolan Raichu, but no, we didn't get that. The Pikachu is the same fucking Pikachu we've always seen, and we are fucking tired of it. Why did we not get a spin on Pikachu, the most iconic Pokemon in the entire series? I don't know, and that bothers me a lot more than it really should. I also have to say this is probably some of the most interesting legends that we've seen in the Pokemon games in quite some time. Most notably the Tapu, which are the Island Guardians. These Tiki-inspired Pokemon are similar enough to where we know that they go together, but different enough to maintain a level of uniqueness between them. And even more fascinating is the Ultra Beasts. They look pretty weird and fucked up, but seeing how they're from a different dimension, that's kind of understandable. And I welcome this change. I welcome these really weird and fascinating looking Pokemon because they're so different from what we're used to. Matter of fact, I use one. Next thing I want to talk about are the Z-moves, which is kind of the new, really cool hook introduced in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Z-moves are these one-time use super powerful and really fucking cinematic attacks that every Pokemon is capable of using. Now, in most cases, the Z move is type exclusive, and you must have an attack move of that type in your Pokemon's moveset in order to use it. However, even more fascinating still, there are a handful of Pokemon that have unique and exclusive Z moves to themselves, such as all three starters in their Fauna evolutions, Snorlax, Alolan Raichu, and even Pokemon that are yet to be obtainable in Sun and Moon, such as Mew and Marshadow. But I think the coolest Z move definitely goes to the Tapu Pokemon. Take a look, it's pretty fucking boss. Next, let's talk about the difficulty in the Sun and Moon game. Although it's still considerably easier than some of the much older Pokemon games, such as Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, and Crystal, it's definitely a step up from X and Y, Omega Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire. A common complaint of those four games was that they were just too fucking easy. Well, the developers listened, and now we have a little more difficulty in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. I don't know about you guys, but I actually had some trouble with the Elite Four this time around. Especially Hala, the fighting-type kahuna. Although that was probably more so because 4 out of 6 out of my team Pokemon at the time had a weakness to the fighting type. But still, it took me more than one attempt, and that's to be appreciated in the Elite Four, which is meant to be the toughest trainers in the entire game. Another really interesting aspect of these new Pokemon games is the story. I have to say that this story is probably the darkest I've seen in quite some time. Like, how about that final showdown with Aether Foundation President Lucamine? Yeah, she merges with one of the Ultra Beasts and is given this nightmare fuel form that you now have to fight. And then after you defeat it, it's revealed that she now has severe medical conditions as a result. That's pretty fucking dark, and I question if that's appropriate for young children. I do have to complain that Team Skull really does not play a very large role, as compared to previous Evil Foundations in older Pokemon games. Team Skull, by comparison, is kind of a joke. I mean, yeah, I get they're running on a smaller budget, but still, I feel like they could have been a larger part of the main story than what they actually were. To me, the Aether Foundation is the real villain, not Team Skull, they're just kind of supporting. And probably the most interesting plot aspect to me in Pokemon Sun and Moon is the fact that the iconic cover legendary is not a standalone Pokemon. They actually evolve from the same base form. Both Solgaleo and Lunala are shown to you very early in the game as their first form, Cosmog. Yeah, this adorable little space cloud Pokemon that hides in a bag. Yeah, that's your legendary, people. And unless you go on places like Theory.net and totally spoil that, it's a pretty big surprise when you find out that this little space cloud evolves into the massive cover legendary that you now are going to have to catch.
Nebby, get in the fucking bag!
And probably one of the largest positives of these games is the fact that finally, we do not have to deal with the pain in the ass known as the HMs anymore. Thank fucking Arceus. Now, we are given Ride Pokemon, which take care of all the dirty work for us. No longer do we have to waste perfectly good attack slots to get basic jobs done such as moving rocks, surfing over water, or revisiting old places quicker. And that, my friend, is definitely a welcome change. Although, I don't know about the Machamp one. The way he kind of like just cradles you like that, like just cradles you like a baby, that's a little creepy to me. That's kind of creepy. I feel like we should be piggybacking the Machamp and not be cradled. I don't know, I'm just bothered by that. Look at this. Why? Why is that a thing? I don't know. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the negative aspects of this game. So not too sure about the Alola region in general. I mean, the idea of Hawaii being the inspiration for the new region seemed pretty cool. And, the fact that there's 4 separate islands seemed like it should have been a good concept too. 5 if you count the Aether Foundation. But I don't know, it's just all 4 islands seem kind of the same to me. I was picturing all 4 islands being substantially different from one another, but they're not. They're kind of just the same island 4 times. I mean, sure, Pony Island is more country than the other 3, but that's really not enough to really set it apart. And I guess that aspect is kind of disappointing to me. I'm also disappointed in the lack of fashion options in this game as compared to X and Y. I feel like X and Y offered a lot more possibilities and customization for your character. Sun and Moon, not so much. Why is there not a bikini top option? This is a region based on Hawaii, which is on the equator. It's always hot in Hawaii. People walk around in bikini tops all the time. And so why is it that I can't dress my trainer like a skank to match my real life self? I mean, what I put her in is pretty cute. It's kind of got like a Summer Lolita thing going on, but I really, really want to dress my trainer like a skank, and I'm disappointed that I can't. Another complaint I have is the changeover from gym leaders to Grand Trials, Totem Pokemon, and Island Kahuna. I really don't like the change. I mean, I get they were going for something different, but I'm just not feeling it. The Island Kahunas are okay. I mean, they're technically gym leaders, but there's only 4 of them, not 8, so we get a lot less variety than we had before. And the Grand Trials are usually just fighting a bunch of useless wild Pokemon that we've already seen by that point in the game, and the Totem Pokemon is just an unusually strong Pokemon of that particular area. It's not that fascinating, it's not that interesting, and I appreciate the effort of doing something different, but it just doesn't work for me. Another big complaint I have is that there's really not any good places post-game to level up your Pokemon. In Pokemon X and Y, there was the O-Power feature where you could double the amount of experience points your Pokemon get for a set amount of time. And that was really, really helpful in getting your Pokemon to level 100 faster. Well, that's been done away with in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. The Battle Tree does not provide any experience for your Pokemon. The Battle Buffet is kind of useless because it only lets you battle one opponent with 1 Pokemon each at a time. So really all you have is to fight the Elite Four again and again and again, and that gets really old really fast. I wish there was a better and more interesting way to level up your Pokemon to 100 once you complete the main story. Now, the final complaint I have isn't necessarily geared towards the Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon games, but rather the companies of Nintendo and Game Freak. Zygarde. So, back when we were talking about Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, Zygarde was the 3rd legendary. And since Zygarde's name starts with a Z, we all kind of assumed that Zygarde would have its own game, Pokemon Z. And when the Zygarde movie was released, we were introduced to Zygarde's 100% form, as well as his 10% form. So these were all pointing at a Pokemon Z game where Zygarde was the main star. But it never happened. Instead, Zygarde was kind of just rolled up and tossed in as an extra into Pokemon Sun and Moon. And I really don't like that. I don't like that at all. I feel like this concept of Zygarde, just having to go around the region and collecting cores and cells of Zygarde until you have enough to accumulate various percentages of his completion, 10%, 50%, and finally 100%, I thought that was a really cool concept that could have been the main focus of its own game. But we didn't get that, and I feel like that was a really bad move and decision on Game Freak's part. And God, I can only begin to imagine how Zygarde himself feels about this.
Ah, what a wonderful day on the internet. Time to see what's new. What's this? A new Pokemon game? Must be the new Pokemon Z game. You know, the one that involves me and me only and nobody but me.
Ooh, poor Zygarde. Right in the self-esteem. Ow. All in all, what I have to say about Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon is that they are solid installments in the Pokemon series and are on their own really, really well-made, developed, and awesome Pokemon games. But, just like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they have failed to reach the really high bar that was set by Pokemon X and Y. Therefore, Bad Girl's Bitch Vlog gives Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon for Nintendo 3DS 9 breakdancing Team Skull grunts out of 10.
Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't forget.
This has been Bad Girls Video Game Reviews. Hope you enjoyed it, and please keep watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Subscribe to my channel. I make some good shit. Bad Girls salutes.
Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Bad.